Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Frieren Season 2, Episode 2 on a Tuesday, and I don't think it could be any more perfect than that. Welcome everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've got a tasty beverage and you're ready to watch some Frieren. I certainly am. Our first episode actually, I should probably talk about what went wrong first instead of talking about what went right. One major thing went wrong. I managed to choose the same wrong subtitles that I chose years ago when we first watched Frieren. I grabbed the 9-volt subs, and it turns out they have one primary flaw. Other than that, I didn't notice anything else being terribly wrong, and nobody else commented on anything being terribly wrong. But they mistranslated the title as Frieren, an ageless elegy, which I guess is cool, but it also doesn't fucking mean anything, and isn't the actual title of the show. So I have switched, as everyone has asked, to the subs please versions. Unfortunately, these don't have subtitles for the OP and ED, but that's just the price that we're going to have to pay for slightly more accurate subtitles. And also just the consistency of being the ones that you probably watched this show with seems like a reasonable choice to make for me. Yeah, I'll give up the minute and a half of subtitles on the OP and ED in exchange for better ones throughout. No problem. Easy peasy. Sorry that I made the mistake in the first place. I was guided wrong by Reddit once again. Gotta become more wary of that these days, huh? Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. In any case, I think that the first episode of Frieren Season 2 did a great job of reintroducing me to the story, of sucking me back into the world of Frieren and being like, hey, remember all these characters, remember their dynamics, let's rehash and reestablish those a little bit so that they feel as strong as they did when we left. And I think it did a really wonderful job of doing that, setting us off on our journey once more, introducing us to some weird circumstances, and bringing together Stark and Fern and Frieren in all of the ways that they are interconnected and strengthening those bonds a little bit further. In particular, I think that the ideas surrounding Stark's fear, his cowardice, and how we reframed that first in the first season as being something of value, something that indicated his strength as a warrior in some way, was the vibe that we got from Isen and the vibe we got from Frieren when they were discussing it. But now we take it one step further and say it's not just an indicator that you have a good head on your shoulders, it's that head that we're actually going to listen to. If you want to run, that's our canary in the coal mine, and we're going to fucking run, and we're going to all do it as a team, all do it as a party, so there's no betrayal, there's no, like, leaving other people behind here. We're using your sense of danger as our indicator of danger. You're part of the party, and we're going to protect you. Like, even if we could survive the situation without you, then we'd be down a party member, and that's no good. And we don't want that anyway, because we want you to be here and part of the party, and probably we won't survive it, because if you're scared, we probably should be too. It's fucking great, and I think that applied to real-world interpersonal relationships, it's excellent. It just expands the bubble of trust, right? I'll trust this person on all these things, but if they go this far, I'm out. They're a deserter, they're a traitor, they're not in it to win it. They're not fully all about that hustle grind set culture. I'm not interested. But maybe they've got the right idea. Maybe they've got a little sense in the pit of their stomach that's like, man, this business venture that we're on is not working out. And also it feels like bad. It feels like wrong. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Listen to your friends, listen to your companions, listen to your partners. You decided to be partners with them in the first place. If that only extends so far and then you dismiss their opinion, are you really partners? I think that works in romantic relationships too, right? It works in all sorts of places. And I think it's a powerful foundation for the kind of friendship that can stand not only the test of time, but the test of obstacles, the test of threats, the test of difficulties, the test of struggles. Because in that trust in each other, we can find something that we can fall back on, even when everything else falls apart. I think it's really cool. I think it was a great episode. And when we bring Virbel in and basically offer Stark the opportunity to leave if that's his desire, that serves to cement further the relationship between Stark and Fern and say so explicitly out loud a little bit. That's all just really cool. All the little thematic elements seem to me to be like musical notes highlighting important beats. So, for example, the moments where Fern is engaging with these objects that she cares about so much, and then Frieren is engaging with these flower petals that she's holding in the OP, and then we see this connection ball between these characters, and all of those mean the same thing to me. They all resonate with each other. So one of those scenes in isolation means one thing, and then placed in context with the other three scenes, it's like all three characters are observing each other continuously and growing within the bounds of this set of complicated relationships. And it's like more, and the show produces that more through less, through separation of interesting elements that aren't explicitly tied together but imply each other and elevate each other and add to each other. The whole thing becomes a much bigger picture than the individual pictures one by one. And isn't that film? Isn't that media, right? You have one scene and then you have another scene and then you have another scene. And the magic, one of the great magics is that you can take things that were cemented in the first scene and make them appear again in a different context in scene 7, and they'll have a different impact because you already saw them. Awesome. Frieren continues to be pretty masterful. It continues to be pretty great, continues to be pretty fun, continues to be pretty low-key, pretty enjoyable, pretty tonal, pretty focused on setting and atmosphere, and then weaving into that humanity, characterization, people, connection. All of these things that I think are important and valuable are expressed to us right under the surface of this rather beautiful landscape. I'm excited to see some more. I'm excited to draw another drawing and put it up on my table. So that's what I'm going to do now, is pull the camera down, put up a piece of paper, and see what I've got. I've got an idea. I want to continue riffing off of the theme that I made in the first one. It's only been a few days since then because I recorded that on Friday and this is Tuesday, so we're sort of back to back in some sense. But I want to continue off of that theme, and here we go. Oh, I gotta be really careful. Kind of messed this up a little bit. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. And done. Unfortunately, under the camera, these look a little bit darker than they are to my eye, but otherwise it's all good. It seems to fit. It's pretty weird, the idea that there's like a staff going into one eye. I see it as going into this eye and coming out of this one. It's very strange, but it was the only way I could figure out of making Fern's staff make sense. I think if I could do this again, I would be really careful about not using pen here before I draw in the staff coming out, because I had to deal with the trickiness of this, and it's kind of lost in the details, but it's wrong. It's just like flat wrong. And I would have wanted this to be more foreshortened, so it's like wider here, but doesn't come sticking out as far. So it only sticks out like here, but is more scrunched down and foreshortened. I think that would be pretty cool. I think it would also be cool if I figured out a way to like to make it like an arrow intersecting a head so that the staff, instead of like bending in an insane kind of silly way, is just like stuck straight through the two eyes as though it's like making a through line. But that was more than I had the brain power to bite off and try to chew. This is fine for now. Fern's eyes join us up above. Yeah, I definitely don't think that it's as compelling as the first one that I did. But that's okay. This is a matter of experimenting, trying things out, figuring stuff out, trying to be inspired, and it works. It works. Over the long stretch of time, it absolutely works. Even if individual moments feel like failures or mistakes, they're all plots, all points on a curve. And as long as I keep applying myself, I am confident that that curve stretches upward. So that's where we're headed. Upward. Better. Okay, we're back and we're ready for episode 2. Let's give it a watch. Let's see what journeying we do, what we discover, what weird magics we come across, what strange magical artifacts and weird things about the environment we run into, and maybe most importantly, what those do to our characters and the way they feel about each other. I'm excited to continue some more Frieren, making good progress into it, knocking out the first 2 episodes lickety-split. Let's watch episode 2. I've got episode 2 now with the subs please version up and ready to go. It's sitting at 0 seconds. There'll be 2 versions, picture-in-picture in the description, timer on YouTube, early access on the Patreon, subscribe while you're down there, and a beep beep timer to count you down. Let's go! Could never run out of time. This version has lower quality audio, but I can still feel that incredible swell in the music there where everything hits all at once. It's pretty fucking incredible. The hero of the South. That's right. We had the voices talk about that. Oh, maybe the hero of the South is Hemel, because he's the hero who came from the South. Oh! Deal. Mmm. Fabel. Frieren. Hmm. Now I just have the impression that everything said is going to be a seed of something later. Just like, how might that... Wait. Yeah, that's not Hemel. Or wait. Ah, a collective effort. Okay, an interesting contrast to Hemel. He was humanity's strongest. I mean, guy's dual wielding, so... We've met one of them. Oh, we've met 2 of them. And did the Hero of the South defeat the last one? It was Aura and Qual, right? Just like humanity's advance in magic and stuff. Ooh, we gonna get a stage play? Thunk, thunk, thunk. Ooh. It's a CG model, I think? I'm not sure. What? Well, that's terrifying. And the ability to see the future. Okay. So he killed 3 of them and fought the last one to a draw? That guy's a beast. So where are we going with this? His body was never found. Yeah, he was probably eaten. Yeah. But it's a better story that way, right? Better story if he's Gandalfing the Balrog through time and space, just rah. Yeah, way cooler. Huh? Oh, he first came to her. Before Hemel did, I assume. Hmm. How? Yeah. I can see the future. I mean, maybe he can. Like, I can see the future. In battle, too. It's very cool. How did you get that skill? I don't think she just doesn't seem to care. Yeah. If you're endless and you're going to see the future anyway, what does it matter? I mean, it still matters. You gonna make some prophecy? Yeah, we've met. He knows that and he still goes. I didn't think that part through. He still goes. How can he not? Oh, that creates such an interesting paradox. Okay. But it's not a paradox if the only people who ever see the future are the ones who would follow it and be willing to follow it through and not run from it. That's really it. Whoa, ho, ho, ho! Shippable. Also has free feet. Sorry. Then why ask? And he sees that future too. And yet he still goes. He lays himself down to become part of the bridge, huh? I suppose. I forget exactly what she said. Maybe we don't know. Oh, maybe we're not going to find out until the end of the episode. Is it about his own fate? That's what he wanted to tell him. That's why I've got chills right up the back of my neck. Nameless. And she's gonna make sure in some ways that it isn't. Oh, what an expression. Oh, wow, oh, ho, ho. Yeah, you didn't see that. Wow, that was really interesting. It's about choice, right? And inevitability and fate. Oh, stuffs. Junk. What? Hmm? Yeah. Oh, okay, not great. Okay, here goes our very slim coin disappearing piece by piece. We sure are buying a lot. Oh. all she bought was essentials, though. This is very interesting. Why does she want to move so quickly? Is it that she doesn't want to be here? Or... Hmm. Ah, we were trying to escape before being noticed, it seems. Nope, she does not want to. Okay, we have been here before. Wonder what the fuck is going on. Yeah, we know. We are aware. Okay, seems reasonable. What's the catch? Delightful. Yeah. Got big eyes there. What do you want? You gonna give us a fucking fetch quest? Again? Is it cursed? Doesn't ask what kind or anything like that. Huh. I wonder what's up with this particular sword. That didn't seem so unreasonable. Oh, that's unreasonable. Hey, they also all have ponytails. Ooh. It's a cool demon. It must be special. So y'all are the thieves? Hmm. This ties to the other hero. Wouldn't abandon someone in need. This ties to the other hero. Now that he's gone and sacrificed himself to clear a path, that forces Himel to continue, doesn't it? That was a really cute horse face. The light coming through those trees was really pretty. Any bigger? Nope. Hmm. Demon. Now we have a path of destruction to follow. Whoa, the grain weather vane? That's really cool. Caw, caw. Okay, cool tone shift. Hello? Mommy? Not quite. Mm. 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 Are you now? You're the sword demon, right? Come on. Some bullshit. It's her. Oh, maybe not. Aww. I'm being trixied. Oh, yeah. They've been eated. They've been nommed on. Nom nom nom. Yeah, for sure. Got the sword too. I had to in order to survive. Okay. So you didn't have to in order to survive. Yeah, we've done this before. Cool. I wonder if it's the sword itself. Oh, that was a CG fire blob. Straight through? Oh, shit. Thank you, Stark. Dodge that. Didn't dodge that. Okay. We've done this before. Hard job, but it was worth it, is his idea. Interesting. Does he get a weird vibe after picking up the sword? Hmm. It's so crazy how we managed to make Himel walk this line of being a total goofball and being so dead serious, right on the money philosophically. It's kind of constant. I don't understand completely. And now she's going to pray. She needed them to keep their eyes open. Simple. Straightforward. Y'all gotta guard that shit better. For real. Yeah, sure. Don't fucking lose it again. Isn't it less safe that you have a big sword that draws demons in it? That seems like bad. Oh, now you want to go shopping. Wait, what was the grimoire? What did she get? Doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, it does not seem worth it even a little bit. It's history, it's family. And it needs to be protected because it's powerful, right? Give a demon a sword and they'll kill a lot more than they would otherwise. Hmm. 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 Speaking of the Graf's servants, it unites them. It's symbolic. We are always manipulable, huh? This is true. It is annoying. Anything for a grimoire. What'd you get? What'd you get? Yes, thank you. Hmm. Is it though? Is it useless though? How silly. Because at the end of things, we end up risking our life for a nothing grimoire. It matters to Frieren for reasons, but like. Then we have Hemel one stage back risking his life for all of this, not to abandon somebody in need. And then one stage back from that, we have the hero of the South who can see the future, see his own demise, and see it carving a path into the future for the next hero. And uses that to manipulate him. Well, that's terrifying to deal with a character who has the long view and actually knows what's going to happen in that long view. That's terrifying. It's stunning. Okay, we get some blurbs. Hot Springs! We're going to Hot Springs! We're going to Hot Springs! Hot Springs episode! Fan service episode! I don't know. Okay, cool episode. We find out who that statue is it's in the midst of things somewhere. I lost it. It was here somewhere. Finally, we understand who he is. He's the hero of the South. Another in what we now realize is a lineage of heroes who affect each other, whose actions inspire one another. That's something that we've talked about a lot with Himmel. Himmel has inspired generations of people. Himmel, a fictional character, continues to inspire real people in our world to do what Himmel the hero would have done, stop train jackings and stuff, which is crazy, but like amazingly resonant with the idea of Himmel the hero. Here's this character who did a thing, and part of the reason that he did the thing was to become a symbol. And what he's done is he's become a symbol that lives on in Frieren's mind in close proximity, but also lives on in the minds and sort of collective understanding of reality of everyone across these cultures. And now we find out that he's not the first. His actions were in turn impacted by somebody else. Himmel's a bit of a mystery to us. Like, we don't know his origins for the most part. We don't know from whence comes Himmel the hero, from where are his ideas and ideals founded and forged, right? He sort of emerges out of the woods and approaches Frieren, and that's him. There he is. And there's an impression that he's already kind of fully formed, that he's already all there, that everything that Himmel the hero will ever be is already expressed in the first iteration of Himmel the hero that Frieren meets in that forest. He's already got it. But that's not the case. His opinions and ideas have been shaped over the course of their journey by the people that he's interacted with, by the obstacles that they've overcome, by the dynamics of the party, and it turns out by a set of words passed down to him through Frieren, utilizing what this character must have known is her longevity and her perfect, relatively perfect memory and her ability to pass a time capsule of information down to somebody important, somebody that he won't meet. He knows he won't ever meet Himmel, right? Their paths don't intersect. But by coming and speaking to Frieren, he is able to communicate to him across time and space. He's able to leave a note, leave something for him to find. And I believe, because there's no reason to disbelieve his seeing the future situation, right? There's no reason to. He says it in confidence to Frieren. I believe that he says that in order to bounce Himmel, in order to reflect Himmel and direct him in a different direction. Because we can presume that he can see the possibilities of the future, and he can see that if he says this one thing will happen, if he doesn't, the other will happen. Although, maybe we don't know that. Maybe we don't know what kind of future sight he has, right? Like, does he see multiple possibilities and see them playing out? Or does he just see the one path that fate must go down and find himself bound to it? This raises huge questions that we will never get the answers to in this show because the character's dead. And I want to mention that first off. I think it's clever that the character's dead. It's simple, but it's clever. It gets us around the huge problem. The huge problem is if you have an omniscient character who knows the future and you have a party that needs, would benefit from knowing the future, they can just go talk to him, be like, hey, what's up? Tell me about the future. And then you got to finagle some reason that this guy won't help. Maybe he's evil. Maybe he needs a bunch of gold. Maybe he's jealous with his information. Maybe he believes that by telling people the information, it'll destroy the world or something. Much easier if he's fucking dead, right? If he already followed his fate off into the wild blue yonder and he is no longer here in this world. Maybe you could go talk to him in End Day, assuming that the whole heaven bullshit is actually not bullshit and is real, but he's not just a resource that we can go and chat with and find out perfectly what the future might hold for us. He's gone. I think it's clever. I think it's probably the best way to handle something like this, and it lets us have our cake and eat it too. We get to introduce the idea that there are people who can literally see the future in this world, and we don't have to deal with the ramifications of that on a present story, because it really fucks with a present story. But there are all sorts of questions like, does he see multiple futures, and is he able to choose between them? If he sees a future that he doesn't want, for example, going and fighting the Demon King's 7 sages, right? And seeing himself dying in the process, can he walk away from that? Or is he bound to it somehow? Or is it something finagly where a power like that will only exhibit itself in someone who is completely willing to follow out their fate, regardless of what negative, repercussions it might have on them? They'll still follow it even if it kills them. That's the vibe that I get from him, and maybe that's the prerequisite to the power. Maybe having that kind of attitude and being completely self-sacrificial, not living in this present moment, but living for the future is what's required for something like that to manifest in the first place. Maybe that's part of his uniqueness as the hero of the South. I don't fucking know. It's cool. It's a really cool idea. Okay, but I think the cooler idea, because it harmonizes, it resonates with other notes, other themes that we've established already in Frieren, is that what you say to other people and how you act have dramatic impacts on them and can really shape their behavior moving into the future. And if that's the case, how far does that ripple effect go? How far could it go, right? Because if you impact the right person, the effect can be extraordinary. Hemel, we've talked about this in the context of Hemel, but now the Hero of the South expands it. It makes it much broader because it takes it back a step, yeah? We've talked about it in the context of Hemel. Who has Hemel impacted? Thousands of people, many villages, right? We met a bunch of them in the first season, from old ladies who were little girls who got saved by Hemel in a moment of a burning village, to old men who, flipped Frieren's skirt when they were little boys and interacted with Hemel in some way as well. These people have been impacted by him directly or close to directly, right? But then what about all of the rulers and lords and would-be heroes that have followed in some degree in Hemel's footsteps, who take a stand against the demons, who work together to protect an artifact that if it fell into the demon's hands would be very dangerous, who work together, like, in general, because they believe in the society that they've clawed away from the defeat that was looming from the Demon King. Those impacts from Hemel are clearly felt. And then we have the layer that we're potentially most focused on in the show. Hemel impacted Frieren. And Frieren goes on for a long, long time, and her actions through that long, long time to continue to impact new people. Stark would not be the hero he's becoming were it not for Frieren's attitude, which would not be what it is were it not for Hemel. Yeah? So it all passes back and broadens as it goes. It impacts more and more people as it goes because each of them is inspired and their torch internally, their heart is lit aflame by this heroism, by observing somebody do these things and sacrifice the self and all this stuff. And then they go and interact with other people, and their interactions with other people are maybe infinitesimally, but they're different. They're always going to be different because they've been changed. They've been changed just a little bit. But what we do here is we step one step back and we say the hero does not emerge from nothing, and he is not guided by nothing. He is a product of his environment and a product of those who've become before, and he is also a ball of influences, a ball of impacts, an amalgamation of all of the things that have influenced him to become who he is. And that means that every time you meet somebody, you might be talking to the next hero, right? And it might be your actions, your speech, your behavior that guides them in that direction. That's the impression that I get from this, yeah? Especially if you are already yourself a memorable figure, if you are already in some kind of communicative power, however big that is, the most famous hero of humanity, or however small that is. I run a YouTube channel with a few thousand subscribers. You can still have an impact on people, and it has a real impact. So what do you decide to do and say? And then how do you decide to act, and do you live that out yourself? Because it would be one thing to pass this pass this task on to Hemel and be like, hey, I've seen the future. I'm going to get defeated. It's on you now. But that's not what he does. What he does is say, I've seen the future. I'm going to be defeated, but I'm going to blaze the trail for you. I will clear your path and sacrifice myself in doing so. It does a lot. First, it demonstrates this willing self-sacrifice, this completely knowing, I know what I'm going to do. I know what's going to happen to me. There is an inevitability of my defeat, and yet it's necessary. It's necessary to rebalance the scales, to take away some of the obstacles that are in your way so that you can actually achieve the thing. It fits with a theme that I've been harping on repeatedly, especially in Orb, because it's critically, directly, immediately, obviously important in Orb, is this idea of passing things on so that they can be completed in the future. You've got some great work in Orb. It's an intellectual work coming up with a theory, right? And circumstances are arranged such that you cannot complete it in your lifetime, but you can pass it down. And I think that's like a biological imperative. I think it is a great force of living things to recognize that in our finitude, in our lack of time, because we, unlike the OP, says we do run out of time. And this hero will run out of time, even if it's not, in the next year as he goes and he fights. He's mortal, right? He only has so much time, and his missions will not be completed in his lifespan. Even if he were to go and defeat the Demon King, there's much more to do. It won't be completed. The project of human evolution, the project of development, the project of industry, the project of generating a world that's worth living in is not a solvable problem. It continues onward. Because the enemy that we're up against is not a single demon king, but like entropy, like fundamental laws of reality, which in Frieren the demons kind of embody, right? They kind of embody these destructive forces. But our real world enemy is much larger. The enemy of life is everything else. The enemy of life is void and vacuum and ultraviolet radiation and the forces that tear things apart, oxidation, everything falls apart. And so the only way to create growth across time is to die for it and pass something on. So he dies for it and passes something on. And what he passes on is almost cruel in a way. It's almost like a trap. I don't have the right word for it. Let me think for a second. The words and legacy in combination that the hero of the South passed down to Hemel are perfectly orchestrated in the way that only someone who can see the future could orchestrate them. I think, the way I'm seeing it, to inspire Hemel, but also to guilt him, to force his hand. If Hemel at any point during this was having any doubts, not maybe about whether he could defeat the Demon Lord, but also about whether it was worth it, whether they would die in the process, whether they should run away, things like that. Now you have this previous hero who blazed a trail for you and died for it. Can you really abandon what he set forth for you? Like, he set the table for you and you're not going to eat the meal that he made? It comes dangerously close to infringing upon Hemel's I won't abandon someone in need. It's not quite, but it reminds me of that a little bit. It forces his hand. I think it really does. I don't think Hemel can turn away knowing that someone who looks up to him and respects him and believes in him died to make his path possible. It would be so scornful to not follow that path that's been laid out. And in the same note, maybe it would be scornful of his gift to not follow through the fate that he sees, even if it leads to his own destruction. And perhaps he's the only one who can make that fight happen because his opponent also can see the future or know everything or whatnot, right? So maybe it had to be him, and knowing that it had to be Hemel next. Something like that. I think it's very cool. It makes me think about the impacts that people have on each other and how that changes people large scale, like groups of people, populations over time. It's really incredible. Okay, most of this episode is cute stuff, fun stuff, enjoyable time spent with our characters. Very little of it is like transcendentally Frieren god tier amazingness. Oh, cinema. Most of it is just flow and chillin' and vibes, and the music is playing, and I'm here watching Frieren, and I'm happy about that. But not so much stuff that I feel like needs to be dived into and really investigated. Yeah, we've talked a good bit about the hero lineage situation, and that's the primary point that I really wanted to cover. I want to look through some of the animation around the demon. I think it feels really important to me that we're sort of reminded a little bit about how demons are, like how they act, how manipulative, how evil they really are. We got that early in the first season with the ones that pretend, they make images of your family and friends and use their voices to manipulate you. And we realize in those moments that they're really sinister and really inhuman, but also we have some strange compassion for them because they're kind of like animals using an anglerfish lure. It's just what they do. But as their prey animal, it's normal to hate them in the way that lambs would hate eagles, right? I think the Nietzsche quote, where the eagles go, yes, but we love lambs. Lambs are great. And demons would do the exact same. It's like, we love humans. They're delicious. They're delicious. But we have every reason to hate them and find them evil and need them gone. So I think bringing that back in with this cruelty from the sword demon is really powerful. And then I think that accents what has come before, the importance of following traditions and doing things that are maybe self-sacrificing, like maybe cause harm because they make everything better. I don't know exactly how to frame it, but it seems to tie into me in the back of my mind. It's just a trouble to bring that from back of the mind to front of the mind. Will you polish the statue? Well, can I have a spell? How far into his line, it's a spell that blah blah blah, does she reach out to shake his hand? Not quite done. She's ready. She's ready. Itchy spot scratching spell sounds really good though. Feet, walking, faces, characters. I do okay. This is my least favorite shot in the episode, bar none. And it all has to do with the way that Frieren looks. So much of Frieren is immaculate, and there's always something more going on beyond the very lowest baseline of the animation. There's always at least a little sprinkle, but not here. Here, there is no sprinkle. We've got 3 static faces, and Stark is doing mouth flappies, and then we get some expressiveness, and then Frieren turns, and as soon as she turns, I'm fine with the scene. But for this whole scene where she's just doing the same bobble forward, bobble back, bobble forward, bobble back, I'm like, oh, let it end, let it end, let it end. Okay, it ended, thank God. Wait, who's that? That's not the hero. Who are you? That's the hero of the South. Himmel was not really alone. Many people across these lands fought for their freedom. That's an important thing to remember, right? Like, we hold up one person, great man theory of history style, we hold up one person as responsible, but they would not have been able to get where they got without lots of other people. People who blazed the trail. He was worthy of that title. That's a crazy thing to hear from Frieren. He was worthy. The 7 sages were the problem. Woo! Spooky. But we only actually defeated 2 of them. 2 fled or went missing, and the remaining 3 were defeated by the hero of the South. That's pretty awesome. His rapid advance was incredible. He did it within 1 year. And then we get this cool puppet show, which I think is a great storytelling method, right? I think it tells us in meta that the story of the hero of the South resounds through time. He lives on, right? All the people of this village, of this town, are still living in his memory. He's very much alive to them, very much still impacting them in the way that Himmel has been in very, very many other places. That's really interesting. It's important what we hold on to. Her, defeated by Schlacht the Omniscient, who could see 1,000 years into the future, and all the combined forces of the Seven Sages. Damn. And yet he still managed to defeat 3 and slew the last one. Liberated many people, they are devoted to him, and his body was never found. So, there's a claim that he is still fighting on in the sky today, but probably he just got nommed on. And there's a little sadness to Frieren that doesn't quite make sense here. It makes sense, just sad in general that a famous hero got eaten by demons, but the context for that sadness is that she met him, and then she knew where he was going, and knew what was going to happen to, and so what was going to happen to him, and he knew too, and yet he still went. I refuse. I can't do it. Huh. So you refused after all. That means that his future sight isn't perfect, right? Maybe it's just a verbal, just an expression or something like that, but maybe his ability to see the future isn't perfect. Because he does seem not like surprised, but uncertain. He doesn't seem 100% sure that she's going to refuse. Maybe he is. Because I don't think his purpose here is really to ask her. His purpose here is to inform her of the line that he wants to be passed on to Hemel the hero. He's burying a time capsule. He's planting a seed. So you refused after all. Ooh, he also says, it wouldn't matter if you came with me. I would still die. So don't be sad, or something like that, right? So he does see multiple possibilities. And he can add variables. He can change things. He can run through the possibilities if Frieren joins him on his journey. And so he's run through enough possibilities to know that the one that works is the one where he dies for this. And Hemel is inspired. And Frieren is with Hemel. I don't know the right words to convince you. That's super interesting. Like you knew this would happen. Let me tell you the truth. You'll never tell anyone. What faith? Faith born from being able to literally see the whole future where she doesn't tell anyone. So I shall tell you and only you. I can see the future. And she's like, well, all right, cool, whatever. No, just doesn't care. Super interesting. Why doesn't Frieren care about seeing the future? I came up with the reason in the moment. It's like, if you're going to live through it anyway, why take the fun out of that? But even then, it's like deeply valuable to be able to determine what course to take in order to experience the future that you might like. But he refuses mostly. He doesn't tell her anything to try to convince her or to make it more interesting to her. He just says what he needs to accomplish what he needs to accomplish. The Seven Sages. She knows. She's faced one of them before this. Her arm is hurt there. That's interesting. 1 year from now, I will be defeated and slain, and we focus in on his eye, and his gaze is hard, like amber, like cat's eye. I will be defeated. And then something really powerful happens as we walk from this moment of him seeing into the actual experience of it, right? Because it's him talking it through, it's him having the vision of seeing it, and it's him actually doing it all at once. Tink, tink, tink. It's sort of like in Ocean's 11, where we're talking about how we're going to execute the plan, and then we're seeing the plan be executed, and then we're seeing the plan be executed like through the map and stuff, and then we see it go wrong. It's like all those things sort of happen all at once, mishmash together, and it takes us out of time and space and puts us somewhere interesting, where our mind is guided by the show only. So he comes up here, is ready, but is very stoic. Mustache in the wind. Eyes down, ready. What a character. What a guy. Shing. I will die without achieving my goal. And yet, in dying without achieving my goal, he achieves a secondary goal, a different goal. There's an inevitability to death, to loss, to fate, to failure. But if you can redefine success, in a way that's continuous, then it's not a failure. Oh, I said something about this at the beginning of our episode, right? So I drew this drawing, and there are pieces of it that I'm not happy with. It's not a complete success, but it's not a failure either, right? It's a point on a curve. And the reason that it's not a failure is that I know that I'm going to draw tomorrow, and I'm going to draw the day after that. I'm going to draw the day after that, and then probably there'll be like a couple days where I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to draw next Tuesday. So like, it's not over. I might not succeed in this moment. I will not achieve my goal, but that's not the goal, right? Because I've redefined success and failure as like a time series, as a continuous process, as something that goes on beyond me, as something, a set of reins that can be picked up by the next generation, that can be picked up by those who follow in one's footsteps. There is no dying without achieving your goal because the goal has been redefined. And maybe that feels conniving and finicky, and maybe it feels like a weak way of being like, well, I guess you just can't succeed. Who cares? Give up. But it's not a give up-ism, right? It's a look for other opportunities-ism. It's a, the doors to instant gratification and immediate success are closed to you, so what doors are open? What possibilities drive us forward, even if only minuscule amounts, even if just infinitesimally a little bit forward? Maybe the next person who takes up this journey will be able to take one step further and one step further and one step further. Okay, so you apply that independently to your own life, and you're a creature that repeats. Every moment's a new moment. Every day is a new day. Every hour is a new opportunity to try something once more and try it differently, right? So you try something, you get defeated. Are you a loser? Have you failed? It's up to you. It's up to you. If that was part of a process of you improving at the thing, then no, not even close. Of course you didn't fail, right? Because now you've just experienced one iteration of this loop, and actually you've learned a bunch from it because you know one thing that won't work. Go again. Go again. And maybe your goal will be achieved. It takes the goal out of the space of like, this thing gets decided today, to being, I decide how I decide tomorrow. And how I decide tomorrow is like an infinite loop that leads me to a future. It's tomorrow's Joe. It's always tomorrow's Joe. Today's Joe doesn't ever matter, does it? Today's Joe doesn't ever matter, even though today's Joe is the only Joe that exists. Sorry, this is about Ashton Joe. Today's hero doesn't matter. Tomorrow's does. Ooh. Ooh. Today's does too. Today's does too. There's something I don't love that because it does feel like it pulls out some of the import of the present moment, and I think the present moment's important. But expanding that importance to at least include the future, to include the possibility of iteration, the next step, the next try. It's cool. So you do it independently in your own life. Every day is a new opportunity. And then you can do it over the course of many lives, many people, many individuals. And that can span not just the gaps of decades or even a century. You know, some humans can get there, but can easily span millennia, can push a goal forward for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. That's very cool. Shattered blade. Don't feel sorry for me, it is my fate. But soon a young hero will visit you. He is the one who will save the world, not me. You will travel with him and defeat the Demon King. And she goes, yeah, probably not. You'll understand once you meet him. This quick snap between their faces, I think, is really lovely. There's like a subtle difference in the tree line as well, as though it's a different time of year. I think it's really cool. He'll change your life. How much does he know? How far does his sight reach? We don't get to know. That's powerful. Well, I should go. And he's marching off to his death. So he makes truly his last request to her. Tell him this. And it's a hand, but it's Himel's hand. So she's stuck in that moment until Himel arrives. Tell him this. And we obfuscate the words. We don't hear them. But she says them here. And Himel is sort of taken aback by them and then thoughtful. He's really thinking it through. And then he sets. Eyes meet the horizon and set. There's like Oh yeah, all the hair flow. It all dink, it all click click. So his face clicks into place and all the hair hits. Sets. Locked in, puzzle piece set by those words that were said. I swear, and we hear them here, not in Frieren's voice, but in his own, which I think is slightly confusing, but ends up being very powerful. I swear that I will clear a path for you. And it's not for him either. It's for you. It's as though he's looking right into his eye and challenging him. I was seeking for a word a little bit earlier. That's a good word for it. It feels like a challenge. You're next. Are you willing? And in the context of a man knowingly self-sacrificing for that, for your path to be cleared, how can you possibly stop? How can you possibly not take a step forward? If we pull back and we look at this in the context of real people, real lives, right? I know that there are people who disagree with this formulation, but it is one that I hold to sometimes, and I find valuable sometimes. You are the last plank in a bridge that extends out over the waters and stretches onward to a future that none of us can see. The fact that the bridge goes as far as it does is because of all of the people who have lived and died and become planks in that bridge before you, who have contributed, who've pushed us forward, splinter by splinter. I think there's something wrong with giving up before reaching the end of the bridge and pushing it forward a little bit further. That's how it strikes me. I think there's something ungrateful almost about it. I know that this idea doesn't hit everybody the right way, or the way that it hits me. But when I think that for millions of years, every one of my ancestors has struggled to survive and to procreate, and I don't hold procreation as like the grand goal of all things life. If I did, I wouldn't care as much about passing down information in non-biological ways, right? I think we have ways of doing that that transcend direct creation of a new human being, right? I think you can have impacts beyond that the way that Hemel does. But I look back and there's an unbroken chain between me and the first organism that ever existed, and one between you and the first organism that existed, and from every organism to every organism that ever existed. And when I look at like gazelles fleeing for their lives or creatures desperately struggling for existence, I feel as though they're struggling with the weight of all their ancestors behind them, who have all also struggled so hard to survive and to create a world where they exist. And that's a big pressure, and I think it's a powerful one, and I think it's an important one, and I think it's generally a good one, usually. Depending on how you frame good, I frame being as good, equivalent. Existence equals good, I think. And I frame the world as a battle against non-existence. It's in very many ways how I see it. It feels to me like there's something wrong to give up on that. Because you're not just you. You are the thousands of generations of creatures that have come before you. You're a fraction of all of them, more than a fraction. You're another life, you know, a rebirth, a reincarnation of many hundreds of past selves. You know, people talk mystically about past lives, but what about the lives of the biological creatures who've lived entire lives, whose memory is in some way embedded in the activation and sequence of their genes and mitochondria and all of these other things? Like, you don't need to be very mystical to think that you are influenced by the living creatures of the past. They don't need to be ghosts. You are their ghost, right? I think you can be you can be burdened by that kind of a perspective of like, oh gosh, I have to like try to live on in this world, and with all these new challenges that my biology isn't really organized to deal with very effectively. Gosh, what a terrible fate. What a terrible what a terrible responsibility to have passed on to me. To be alive, to struggle, to thrive, to survive. Whoa. And yet the fact that so many have done it before me, and that their doing so was a prerequisite to my own existence, it compels me. It compels me to try to do something of the same, to make it worthwhile, to live a life worth living, to pass something on in turn. I have experienced the great privilege of having great people around me influence and impact my life, and I would like those influences to live on, their memories and my respect for them to live on, and perhaps to change other people in the way that they've changed me, perhaps to have an impact, perhaps to improve things. And whether I have biological children and pass on my literal, physical, embodied self to them, or I spend my whole life in dreams and ideas trying to make those fractionally more real and communicate with people about what I think matters, to experience and explore the world, to try in some weird sense to see a future, to have foresight and broad sight, to see reality more broadly from many perspectives, and then try to communicate that, I think it has real value. I think to not pursue those things is like, it's shitting on all the lives that have come before me. And then the flip side is that I'm inspired to not just live up, but live beyond, to step further, to run to the end of this bridge that stretches off into infinity and get there as fast as I can so that I can explore the new space beyond it, and make myself as sturdy a plank as I can be before at some point inevitably I am laid down to become part of the bridge. A path has already been cleared for me, and I don't know what it would take for me to not be compelled to follow it. Even in the face of inevitable terror, death, loss, and dying alone, I still have to follow it. I, humanity's strongest hero, the hero of the South. Even if I am not remembered, but that's where he's wrong. He was remembered. This little look from Frieren is very powerful. Oh, and Stark up in the gear. It's cute. Some future sight you had. You are remembered. You've had an impact. And it hasn't just been washed away by Hemo the hero. Some people have held on to you as well. It's cool. Okay, so we enter the big city, and we're looking at stuff, and Frieren is having none of it. She just wants to get the fuck out of here. Business, 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 business. Won't even eat yummy foods. Crazy. She just wants to get the fuck out of here before something bad happens. And it happens. So she knew that probably the sword had already been stolen, and probably they would have to deal with this request. That's crazy. Food. Yes, yes. Okay. Stolen again. Jeez. Okay, fine. I'll do it. She won't abandon somebody in need because Hemo wouldn't abandon somebody in need, and it passes on back. It passes on back. I'll throw you in the dungeon, otherwise get my sword back. The same stance gets set up here, which feels kind of Chekhov-y. It feels like when we bring that back, it's cool. An heirloom sword. Must have some appeal that only demons understand. I thought you'd turn it down. Yeah, but I didn't have a choice. Hemo already brought it back. If I refused, his efforts would have been for nothing. And there we tie it together. There we tie it together. a responsibility to those who have come before, a responsibility to the actions of the past. Hmm. Besides, he wouldn't abandon someone in need. So, okay, so I have a responsibility to him to follow through and do the things that he would do. But also, Frieren's fundamental understanding of how one should act is changed by Himmel because she has completely internalized his attitude of not abandoning someone in need. And neither will she. Wow. Wow. The horse is cute. Travel montage. We lead right up to it and we find the destruction. The tone shift, I think, is lovely. The smoky sunset hues, darkness and blood, cackling crows. There's no one here. Here's this totally not sinister lady who's just like, hi, I'm totally a priest. Let's all pray. I'm the one person in this village. Even Fern is a little, you sure about this? But Frieren catches it immediately and launches us into combat before we can close our eyes and pray. You are the sword demon. I gotta mention that I think the sword looks really cool. It's got a unique design with sort of intricacies on it that I don't normally see on swords. It's just unique looking. I like it. And I think that our action sequence is pretty badass. I don't get this line. Even though you can eat things other than humans, I don't get it completely. I killed them so that I could eat them. I had to in order to survive. I guess, to me, this reads as like, the logic of demons is never going to logic out correctly. It just serves to justify their behavior. It's backward written. It's not actually right or real, which is interesting. Why is that not a reason? And a reason not to eat humans? Talking is a waste of time. Let's just kill this thing. And wham, we're into action. Okay. So, action sequence feels fun. It's dynamic. There's this big boom, and oddly, a CG fireball explosion. Interesting. It's built to sort of mimic the one that we saw in the dragon fight in the sort of past time cutaway in the last episode. It mimics it, but it's very different because it's clearly CG. Interesting. Overall, the fight feels fun and snappy, has cool impact frames and stuff, but it doesn't bowl me over. It doesn't, like, absolutely blow my mind or anything like that. The big zaps are cool, although I really didn't like the sound effect for them. I feel like we used a much stronger sound effect in previous seasons. Maybe I'm wrong. Blip, blip, blip. It just doesn't feel as oomphy. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Crack, bash. I will say most of the effects feel really awesome. Breaks straight through, but then Stark is there. I will mention that I like this. I like the way that he slams the sword down and then carries momentum upward. It stops for a sec, holds, and then leaps, and then holds again in the air. It's like, Nero, boom, hold, and then pow. There's something in the quick 1-2 of the feet and then the leap that feels right to me. It feels correct. Sort of like when you watch martial artists set up for a tornado kick. It's like step, step, foop. Or watching figure skaters hit a jump. They hit a pose, hold, and then launch in. And it's when their foot impacts the ground that they get launched up into the air. And it's like downward force becomes upward force at the same time that they jump. It's like, this feels kind of like that. Bam. Yeah. It's cool. And then we get all these blasts from the sky. Boom, 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 boom. And Frieren takes a bead, knocks her out. And it's honestly a pretty straightforward fight, but it's the context that makes it valuable, that makes it interesting. Bam, boom, back to the past. Awful job, but we got to defeat a demon. Silver lining, and sometimes difficult jobs like these ultimately help lots of people. And he says, that's why I never abandon someone in need. So now we add a justification behind the rule. The rule is I never abandon someone in need. And the justification is something like, sometimes when somebody is in need, it's actually a lot of people in need. And the thing that you fix is much bigger than you thought, right? Like somebody is like, oh gosh, there's a crack in the dam. Please, oh Mr. Hero, please come fix the crack in the dam. You're like, it's fine, it's just a crack in the dam. But it's actually threatening the structural integrity of the whole thing. And if somebody doesn't go and solve it, it's going to bubble out and destroy everything in its path. In a case like the sword, it's like, Yeah, this sword got stolen by a demon. Who cares? There are plenty of dangerous demons out there. But a demon carrying this sword might be exceptionally dangerous and more inclined to kill more people. So by not stopping it, you might be inadvertently causing dozens of villages to be destroyed. So it's always worth doing the smallest, even if it seems small, even if it seems too difficult, it's always worth it because it has a ripple effect. That's heroism, right? That's what I think. But it's also that the challenge makes it exciting. And then in that context, it's like, maybe you're seeking out bigger and bigger challenges because you know that you're fated to go and sight and face a much bigger one. And you can't turn away from that path because of the one who has blazed the trail before you. I don't know. So, can't let you prey. She was going to prey on us. But we do prey over these cairns that we erect without bodies to erect them over. It's sad. A little smile, thank you for the sword. Now the city is safe again, which seems to be exactly the opposite. But the last thing that I thought was powerful here, it was stolen multiple times. They'll keep coming, but isn't it so dangerous? They can be stubborn about it, but also, if the demons had it, it would be worse. Somebody needs to hold it. Okay, I get it. I get it. Somebody has to bear this burden. There's no choice in that, right? Yeah. So now it plays into Hemel going as well. The stage is set. Somebody has to deal with the obstacle. Somebody has to deal with this threat. Somebody has to sacrifice their town's safety in order to secure the safety of the whole. Just like the hero of the South had to sacrifice his personal safety for the world. Okay. Demons will inevitably go and destroy if they find the sword. The Graf servants might have been involved. And since then, they have prioritized protecting the sword, and so has the whole city. Will I grow up to be strong too? It's a symbol. It's a symbol, and it's a burden that strengthens those that carry it. Just like the burden of the fate passed down to him by the hero of the South strengthens Hemel. It forces him to become a hero by burdening him with the blade. It forces this town to be a heroic town that embodies the legend. We are the ones who safeguard the sword. As long as humans know desire, demons will take advantage of that. It's a powerful ending point, but less related to everything else. I hope you'll help again, but it depends on the reward. And this time our grimoire turns red apples green. Badass, important, critical, useful. Pushing magical science forward step by step, aren't you, Frieren? Cool. Let me pull up Sakagaburu. I don't think there's a lot that I really desperately want to see here, but I just want to check. Okay, a little bit tough to figure out the tags that I needed to use to get this to come up, but we got them. I'll grab these. Rainy, with the characters running around and the kids being all kids and stuff. Cool. Ryota Yamawaki. Bam! The first blast from Frieren. And then the drawing of the sword. Cool. Horse! Please tell me it's referencing Kaguya-sama. I don't know. I don't remember. Okay. Keiichiro Saito for the puppet. I guess it's not a 3D model. I think it's just because the shading portions sort of moving jerkily like a puppet that it makes me think that it's a puppet, right? Because 3D models are kind of puppets that we move. It would make sense to use one for this, but it doesn't seem to be. And Keiichiro Saito for this portion as well. It is really cool. Putting together a puppet show that is in the world that we're already seeing through a very puppet-like medium. That's kind of neat. And top cut of the episode, I assume this is... Oh, this first has the CG explosion. Boom. And then the booshes, whooshes, bams, and booms. And then also the boom from the sky. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, cool. Koki Fujimoto, who I think is responsible for an immense amount of this type of Frieren shoots beams and stuff explodes kind of animation. Not really a fan of this style of explosions. It looked off in Aki versus Reze as well. Yeah, I think so too. I don't like them that much. But of course, the point of it is that they're three-dimensional explosions that you can put into space, and like you can move the camera around them and place them perfectly and all sorts of things. I don't I don't really see the need for it here. I think it's kind of jarring, and it does break up the flow of the rest of the well-animated, you know, like stuff. Is the second explosion CG as well? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. I don't like it. Okay, fair enough. And with that, I think we wrap. Soso no Frieren Season 2, Episode 2 gets 2 thumbs up from me as being another solid episode of Frieren. Less sucking me in, less compelling in the every second being a painting, every bit of it being like, wow, high art. But interwoven with thematic ideas and stuff around the two heroes and the passing of ideas and the blazing of trails and the pushing of the group, the whole forward a little bit, even at the cost of one's self. I think those ideas are really powerful, and this episode does a great job of expressing them in a way that I think will fold further into the rest of the show. Because while we're seeing seeds planted in the beginnings of each of these episodes bloom into interesting things, those interesting things are themselves seeds for the future of the show, and I'm really excited to see what it all blooms into, and find ourselves, like Frieren at the end of the OP, surrounded by a field of blooming flowers. Thanks for watching this episode with me. I hope to catch you next week for the next one. Much love. Peace.